calories are not real. Bear with me for a second. I've made a video about this before, about how the idea that a pound of fat is equivalent to 3,500 calories, and the only way to lose a pound of fat is to eat in a total deficit over a span of days or weeks of 3,500. That's the only way to lose 1 pound of fat, is completely wrong. I'm living proof, but because you probably don't believe me, if you're new to this channel, take it from one of my best clients. Actually, I wouldn't say the best client because, we didn't really even do too much training for him, but he made tremendous progress. But most of my clients, we go a lot more in depth with training and diet. But I put Octavio, one of my clients, who went from 300 pounds to 225 pounds, I put him on this diet. And obviously, you should manipulate it with the phases and whatnot, but at the same time, you need to understand, this man lost 75 pounds in about 70 days, okay? If you do the math on that, even if you assume generously that 20 of those 70 pounds were just pure water weight, even if you do the math on that, he was eating tons of very fatty beef, and obviously not in a mathematical calorie deficit. He was eating more calories, if you were to calculate that, which we don't, than he was normally. And yet he lost what, according to the calorie bros, would require a 2,500 calorie deficit every single day. That's impossible. If that were the case, his maintenance would have needed to be 6,000 calories, right? And it wasn't. Even if you enter in 300 pounds on a calorie calculator, that's not what it's going to tell you is the maintenance calorie level, okay? Because you have to understand, even if you're not 300 pounds, because chances are if you're watching this and you're watching fitness content, that's not what you're just trying to go from relatively lean to very lean, or gain more muscle. It depends where your goals are. You need to understand from this lesson that the calories out part of that equation is so ridiculously variable, not just with your activity, because again, Octavio wasn't working out that much. Now he will be. We're going to shift him towards that, but because now he's ready. But that's not what's going to change the calories out part of your equation that much. Even if you're walking a ton, doing cardio, which I don't have anybody do. None of my clients do cardio. I don't do cardio. Even if you pull that lever on the calories out part of the equation, that is not going to do nearly as much as your insulin sensitivity, okay? If you are insulin insensitive, you will just store fat and you will not be able to benefit from the insulin spike in order to gain muscle, which will increase your metabolism. Likewise, if you become very insulin sensitive via a carnivore diet, your ability to pack on muscle, you'll be that much more sensitive to every spike in insulin that you get every time you eat. Even when you eat just meat, you'll become more sensitive to that spike, allowing you to gain muscle and not retain fat, okay? So you have to understand that if the calories in, calories out linear equation that we are all taught were true, it is mathematically impossible for folks to lose that much weight. Again, even if you make a good chunk of that water, still mathematically impossible. So I urge you to do some research on this stuff. Do some research on the tremendous health benefits of this carnivore diet. I'll let you do some research or ask me questions on Instagram if you want. Watch all my content. But you have to understand that if that mathematical equation were true, one, it's impossible to lose that much weight. And two, there's no way I'd be continuously gaining muscle and staying lean and getting leaner. If you watch my content, I've been getting leaner and bigger and stronger naturally. It's impossible with the calories model. Because according to the calories model, in order to lose fat, you got to eat in a 500 calorie deficit for 6 months straight. Basically just slowly, give your body not enough food and feel deprived. And then eventually, as your metabolism catches up with that, then you got to lower another 500 calories and keep doing that. In that regard, you're only decreasing the metabolism. You're slowing it down. But if you instead ramp it up, all my clients eat more food than they used to, right? Our goal is to get them to eat more food. If you're only eating like 2 pounds of meat, if you're a girl, cool. But if you're not, you got to eat more, dude. In order to eat more, your training is a factor, your sleep, your ability to just not have the fight or flight nervous system mode that plants, coffee, all this other stuff puts you into. Those hormonal changes change your calories out, level the equation, your testosterone, all these other things that cause fat loss. Those are the bigger things to worry about. Because guess what? The guys who talk about science and calories, a lot of them take gear. Even if they got their PhD and they say the reason why they are who they are and you know who they are and they're internet celebrities, they say it's because of their accolades and their PhDs. No. You wouldn't know who in the world they are if they weren't blasting gear. Okay? So what do those guys know? They know that if you increase your testosterone artificially, you'll lose fat and gain muscle. But somehow that's only possible by exogenously increasing your testosterone. How about if you increase your testosterone naturally with more cholesterol, more saturated fat, training properly, not going to failure all the time so that your cortisol levels aren't sky high? When you manipulate your testosterone naturally, how would that not lead to the same increases in muscle mass and loss of body fat simultaneously? Food for thought. So I hope that makes sense for y'all. Because again, if you're trying to gain muscle, if you're trying to lose fat, or both, the answer is a faster metabolism, not a slower one. And that comes down not only to your training, your diet, your recovery, all these different pieces. And all of it involves doing the complete opposite of what everybody tells you to do. Not training to failure all the time, not doing any cardio, spike your cortisol, not counting a single calorie, always eating until you're full. This is magical stuff, guys. The natty limit doesn't exist, and it makes training a lot more fun when you know that your potential is limitless. And you're not limited by cutting and bulking just to make a small net change each year. You don't want that. So, if you want help with that, book a call with me, DM me on Instagram. I'll see if I can help you. If not, I got a bajillion free videos for you to watch. So, watch, learn, know that Jesus is King, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.